On the other day, we discussed about the lists. Now, if we start about the tuples. So the most important thing anyone will ask you is, what is the difference between a list and a tuple? So tuple is also same like a list, but the only difference is we cannot edit a tuple. Means if you are creating any list, how do you create? So means like my list is equal to say 1, 2, 3. The same fashion, if you want to create a tuple, my tuple is equal to same 1, 2, 3, but in braces differently. So the braces makes them very different in terms of what we are seeing. So if you are asking like, hey, what is the type of my list? It will tell that. So similarly, so type of my tuple, it will tell that whatever it is. Okay, it's a tuple. So what is the main difference of why we are going for a data structures? I told earlier also, what is a data structure? Everything will store the basic data, be it integer, strings, floats, everything. But based upon the purpose, we take a data structure, right? If you see a list, after creating, I can go to a particular element, like indexing, right? Indexing, if you ask, if I want the second element or something, I can say like my list of 2. My list of 2 means I get that one value. So similarly, if I go with the other side, my tuple of 2 means I'll get the second element. So that's how same whatever you do indexing. So the same indexing rules works here also. The same fashion, if you want to, slicing. Slicing means what? In list, what you're doing, say I want to get from 1 to 2, means from 1 should start till 2, but doesn't include 2. Or like if I start from 0, it will go till 2, but doesn't include 2. So however it happens, the same fashion we can do here also. So how we have done for a my tuple, so also same thing. You see, when you are asking a piece of it, that's where also the result is a list here. A piece of it means a slice of it is also called as a tuple here. Fine. Now, if you going for a deleting, say my list of say second, if I'm deleting. So after deleting, if I ask, hey, what is my list? You can notice that one of the element means the last element was removed. Similarly, for delete my tuple, if I ask, say of a particular element, did you see what it is saying? Tuple doesn't support item assignment, item deletion, sorry. Means like we cannot delete from it. At the same time, in a list, if you want to add something, we can do like append of 4. And after that, if I ask, hey, what is my list? It says this 4. Whereas if you go for a tuple, dot like append, if I'm trying to do a 4, it throws an error. Tuple doesn't support, so no attribute append. So we cannot append, so we cannot do anything. Now we understood, right? Typically, what is that? So same rules of list, but only the difference is that we cannot remove or edit it. That's the difference between list and a tuple. Now to show you in one shot whatever I told earlier, I took like a complex, so multi-dimensional list. So a list can store even a basic data types and also a list also and a tuple, everything, right? So if you are storing the braces as a parenthesis, it is a tuple. If it is square braces, it's a list. That's a difference. And so for a list and a tuple, both we have indexing, slicing, of index based upon the position. So we can do for loop, everything we can do. But the only difference is we cannot change anything. Now, another beautiful thing I will tell. If you have a single element in a tuple, so when you have a single element in a list, what you do? Say if you have a single element list is there. Means like I have one element means I can do like this, right? And now if I ask, hey, print the single element list and the type of it. So you can notice that So if you are asking like the type of single element list, you can see that it's a single element and fine. Similarly, if I go for a single element tuple is equal to like this. Okay. If I write like this, now if for this, if I am asking single element list and type of single element, did you see what it is saying? It is not a single element tuple. It is saying it's a list. So integer. Because whenever I have a single element, it don't know that whether it is a element or not. To understand that, if you write a comma at the end, so this is a very strange case which will happen when you're going for a tuple with a single element. Whenever you are having a tuple with a single element, tuple with single element needs comma at the end. So that's the most important thing. If you don't do, it will treat like a basic element. So means it is thinking it's like an arithmetic operation. So that's why as no comma, it is thinking like a basic thing. When you have it, it understands it. But for a list, that is not a problem. If you write one element or no elements, nothing will happen. So when no elements also there, so say like empty list. So when you have empty list, you can write like this. So and similarly, if you have an empty tuple, you can write like this. So this is what we have. If I ask like, hey, print what is the things, you can understand. So print of tuple and type of print of empty tuple, comma, type of empty tuple. Okay. And in the same fashion, you can take a tuple. So print of tuple, comma, type of empty tuple. You can see. So when you have an empty values, you can have no problem. Only when you have single element, that's where the problem comes. And also sometimes to make it much more legible, we can use a built-in function called as a list and built-in function called as tuple for creating empty tuples. So this is also another way of creating. So if you have another tuple, say another tuple, if you want to create, we can create like, tuple with braces, right? So we know like, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that we created. So, and if I ask, hey, what is the tuple and also the type of tuple? So it says like it's some values, fine. One more beauty is that when you don't place any braces, in this case also it is treated as a tuple. Of course, it's not a good way of doing, but so you should not do that. Okay. So whenever like you have multiple values, you can do like this. So when you have square braces, it is a list. When you have parentheses, it's a tuple. When you don't have any parentheses, but more than one value separated by comma, that is a tuple. So, and also one more thing. So if you write a single value without any brace, in that case also it's a tuple. But if you have a single value, that's no more treated as a tuple. So it's like a just value. So it's no more a tuple if you don't place a brace, a comma at the end. If you just place a thing like this, it is just a value. What are its data type is, integer or float or so and so, you'll get it. Hope you understood the difference in terms of usage. Got it? Any doubt till now? So fine. So now let's take one more tuple. Say like I'm taking a tuple, like my tuple again, this time like, so 12, 5 something. So a tuple within a tuple. See here how it is working. And if you ask to print the values, it says it's a tuple and fine. I don't want to mess too much. And so tuple has a built-in function called as length, which can be applied on the tuple. We can get the total number of values. And also, indexing and slicings, all these things. So here, if you focus, you will understand that when you go for the print of dir, so my tuple, you can notice that it has a lot of attributes, right? These are all the list of attributes it has. So like in list, here also we have a lot of attributes. But did you observe, if I remove the things which have underscores on either side, it just has 2 attributes, that's it. So no more attributes apart from that. So it's something different, right? Now, if I focus on things, why we don't deal with the things which have underscores on either side, I told multiple times to you, because there are alternative ways of doing. So for coming to the length, either you can go the length built-in function or underscore length, right? Both ways we can do. And similarly, so we can convert to a string. So str of this tuple is equal to tuple dot underscore str. In both the ways we can do, but str built-in function is we mostly use it. And similarly, REPR is also something which can do. And observe, there is one more thing called as multiplication. If you can observe, if you multiply any tuple with 3, means it is repeating the same values 3 times. That is called as tuple repetition. If you want to achieve the same, we can use underscore mul. But did you see that the same thing is there in the list also, mul? And there used to be one more thing called as I mul and I add. So those are not there here. For a list, we have I mul and I add, means doing the repetition and also adding to the same object, right? So those kind of things are not there in tuple because we cannot edit it. And not only that, if let's say you have a tuple and you want to check whether something is equal to the other. So for that also we have an operator. Let's say you have a tuple, you want to check whether it is equal to another tuple or not. You use the equal to symbol. So instead of that, you can use underscore equal also. But so no one will prefer that. So, but you need to understand that these are all operations. And in the same fashion, hope you remember, if you want the attributes which don't have underscores on either side, hope you remember we did a for loop, right? So we did like, for each attribute. So in dir is giving a list of attributes, right? If I go for the tuple, each one I can check, each attribute. If I check it, each attribute is like this. And if you check the data type of it, type of this each attribute, you can notice it's a string. As everything is a string, they have one thing called as starts with. So each attribute we can have like starts with. So and like we can check whether they are starting with an underscores or not. So whichever is starting with an underscores, we don't want that. So we can do that. Okay, remember like this we did earlier in the list also. So after including all, if you see, finally I have 2 things. And again, so if I come back to my tuple, so my tuple has these many values. And hope you remember, if I ask my tuple dot count of say 5. So though there were 2 5s, it will give the only 1 because at the base level, it has only 1 5 as an element. But if the same thing, if I ask my tuple as a tuple, if I ask, as a tuple, if I ask, observe carefully. If I ask like this, so both are same, right? Though I have braces with a single value, it's not treated as a tuple. It's treated as an ordinary value. But so if I place one value, then it says like this. With these 3, you can understand a very clear understanding what is a tuple. In the tuple, if you are counting the number of occurrences of 5, only 1 occurrence is there. Though there were 2 occurrences, you get only 1. So because at the base level, it is a 5 as an integer, but it is 5 as a tuple. That's why you don't get. Even if you do this also, it will treat the same because whenever you have parentheses, when a single value, it will not be treated by default like that. Hope it's clear, everyone. Now, so now you understood about the count. Now going back to the index. Index means the position where something is present. So this is how we do indexing, right? 0th position, 1st position, like that. Now, if I ask the index of a particular element, so if I say index of 8, earlier you have seen indexing. Indexing means what? You give a position, it will give a value at that position. But index means what? You give a value, it will give at what index the value is present. It's a reverse of it. Okay, sir, you gave away something which is already present. What if you give something which is not present? Say 88, I give. So when you're doing indexing, you should be seeing that, ensure that value is present. So indexing means you give the position. If the position value is not there, it will throw index error. Index means you give a value, it will give the position. Sir, what if there are two occurrences? Then it will give the first occurrence. And hope you remember index, R index, same like what you did in a string. The same thing works here. And we already seen how to handle the exceptions. Whenever you're having these kind of things, we need to handle with an exception, right? We are handling with value error. If you handle with value error, so whenever a issue comes, instead of dropping, so it will throw like this. Hope it's clear. Next, so after this, we have tuples. So we know that tuples, we cannot change it, right? But like, do tuples have concatenation operation? Can we add two tuples? So that's what you see. And I hope you remember this one I told you. Tuple concatenation operation means like, when you have two tuples, we can add them together. Hope you know Python is a strictly typed language. Means we can do operations only on the same types. So for a tuple, we can add only a tuple. But you may ask me, sir, tuples are immutable. How we can add tuples? Because these tuples are not changing themselves. They are creating a new tuple, right? That's why tuple concatenation is okay. In the same fashion, you give tuples of different ways. It will do. Say a tuple within a tuple plus tuple. Something I wrote like a brace. You see? You can understand like how it's working. So in the same fashion, like I can go with any big thing. Say like if I go with tuple plus tuple, simple tuples, I give. It is adding two tuples. Like this, we can do concatenation operation. At the same time, so if you're trying to add two tuples of same type, fine. Python is a strictly typed language. If you're trying to add a tuple with a list, no, it doesn't work. So it will throw in error. Then what if you have a list and a tuple to be added? So in that case, we should go the other side. We should use like this. We need to convert the list to a tuple and use it. So tuple is a built-in function with which we can convert an existing thing to the other and do it. Or you can convert both of them to a list. So one of them is list. Once you have a tuple, you convert the tuple to a list and do it. Point is, strictly typed language means all should be of same type. That's the most important thing. And not only that, this built-in function list and tuple we can use for another purposes also. If you pass a string, did you see? It has gone to each of the element and taken like this. And similarly, we have already seen about the tuple repetition operation. If you have a single tuple and if you want to multiply, so you got it. Okay. So based upon these things, I want to give a small assignment. So the assignment is like, prove that like tuple concatenation is not commutative. Commutative means like, if let's say tuple 1 and tuple 2 are there, if you add, and tuple 2 and tuple 1, so if you add, so if you compare both of them, the result should not be equal. That is what I'm saying. In the same fashion, tuple repetition is commutative, I'm saying. Commutative means like if you reverse, so that should be the same. Means if you multiply a tuple with a 3 and a 3 with a tuple, both are same, right? So just that's what you need to prove. Hope it's clear what I'm trying to say. And also I showed about the immutability of a tuple. So means like, so we cannot change the values. We can create a new object and we can overwrite, but like tuples are immutable. That's what I told. The same thing I explained with a simple example. We can take a tuple, we can index, but if you try to change, it will throw a index type error. But if you're trying to overwrite, that's okay. On the same tuple, we can overwrite. On any object for that matter, we can overwrite. Overwriting means what? You're creating a new thing, right? So that's what it happens. So this is all about tuple. So hope it's clear till now. And so for tuple, so till now we have know that we can index based upon the position only. So the next thing is about, so there is something called as a named tuple. Means like, so for the same tuple, they created like, if there is one advanced concept. So till now, like for everything, we can do a position, right? We can get the 0th value, first value like that in both list and tuples. But what if you want to get based upon the positions? That's where a named tuple comes. So named tuple means, so same like how we do with the index, the same thing we can do. And similarly, we can also do with a keyword. So like a dictionary, we can with a key also. Means like for everything, there will be a position name also. For 0th position, one name, second position, one name, like that also we can have. And also with an attribute also we can create. Say, let me take a simple example. So I have like one small list. So tuple, sorry. Tuple is having like 3 elements. So these 3 elements I want to access. So if there are like 3 elements, how do you access? It's a tuple. You have 3 elements. And if you want to access them, so we can access based upon the positions, right? 0th value, first value, second value. If you ask, you get the values. In the same fashion, if you want to access based upon the positions, so there are simple things we need to do. There's a module called as collections. We need to take that and like first create a named tuple. So what are the tuple that you want to create? Same tuple. Tuple has like 3 things. One is a name, age, and date of birth. First I create a tuple. See, this name should and this name both should be same. Why they made so, I don't know. But so the name that you create and here within the tuple, think like a union, you can think. But for there are 3 positions. For 3 positions, you give some name. So before even creating a tuple, you just do this kind of setup. After doing, then you create your tuple. So instead of just creating a tuple of in braces, you just pass to this like function into the student's name tuple. So whichever passes to it, it should do like this now. So ensure like you are passing the same 3 values for it, and it will do. Now, from this new result, you can access based upon the positions as it is doing. At the same time, you can also access based upon the names also. See, for the first position, you have like a name. Second position, you have age. Then you have date of birth. So same like that, you can do this also. Okay, hope it's clear. And if you want to compare also, you can compare. So both can do the same job. At the same time, there is one more built-in function called as get attribute. Means get attribute. For any object, if you have an attribute, you can directly access like this name dot with a dot attribute you can access, or else using get attribute also you can access. So in fact, whenever you're doing this dot attribute in the built-in, it has passing to this function only. Like that it will do. So whichever way you are comfortable, you can access. Okay. And similarly, so if you want to check something is present or not, some attribute is present or not, there is something called as has-at. So get-attr is for getting the values. And if you want to check something if it is present or not, it is like this thing. So why this is needed? Because if let's say I'm saying, so date of birth, instead of date of birth, say I'm saying date of birth 2, it throws an error. So if you want to check whether something is present, only then you want to access, you can check like, if it is having so and so, then you access. Okay, you see now, if I say check has-at if I do, and then check it now, as attribute is not there, you won't get it. And if you, sorry, so this is called as get-attr, right? Yeah, this is how you get it. So similarly, if you want to set an attribute, So there is another thing called a set attribute, but not in this case, because for a tuple we cannot set a values, right? So set attribute is something else, another built-in function, which I will tell afterwards. So in future. So this is all about the tuples. So till now, and we can discuss about the sets and the next class. So I will stop here. So